In the quiet coastal town of Millbrook, Thomas Williams stood at the edge of uncertainty. At 32, life had been a relentless battle of survival. The morning sun cast long shadows across the worn dock where he worked, his calloused hands telling stories of endless struggle. Every penny was a precious treasure, carefully collected to support his ailing mother and pay off the mountain of family debt that seemed to grow with each passing month. Thomas lived in a small, weathered cottage at the edge of town. The paint was peeling, the windows slightly crooked, but it was home. His mother, Margaret, sat in her favorite armchair by the window, her once vibrant spirit now dimmed by years of hardship. Medical bills had consumed their family's savings, leaving Thomas to shoulder the burden of their survival. By day, he worked at the local docks, loading and unloading fishing boats. The work was backbreaking, each hour a test of his endurance. When the dock work finished, he would rush to the town's garage where he spent evenings fixing cars and tractors. The mechanics respected Thomas for his skill and determination. He never complained, never showed weakness, always pushing forward with a quiet resilience that impressed everyone around him. Money was always tight. Some weeks, Thomas would skip meals to ensure his mother had enough medicine and food. His clothes were patched, his shoes worn thin, but his spirit remained unbroken. The town knew him as the hard-working young man who would do anything to support his family. On this particular morning, the sea was restless. Grey clouds hung low, promising rain. Thomas arrived at the dock early, his lunch packed in a simple, brown paper bag, usually just a couple of sandwiches and a small thermos of tea. The other workers nodded in respect as he began his work, lifting heavy crates with a strength that belied his lean frame. The dock was a world of its own, rough, men, salty air, and the constant sound of waves crashing against wooden pillars. Thomas moved efficiently, his movements practiced and precise. He knew every inch of this place, every boat, every routine. When the other workers took breaks, he continued working, saving every moment for extra money. As midday approached, a strange opportunity presented itself. One of the boat owners, an old man named Richard Harper, approached Thomas with an unusual proposition. A special shipment needed careful handling, delicate equipment that required a careful, precise touch. The pay was significantly higher than Thomas's usual daily wage. "I need someone I can trust," Richard said, studying Thomas carefully. "Someone who understands the value of hard work and discretion." Thomas listened carefully, his mind racing with the potential of extra income. His mother needed new medication, and their cottage needed urgent repairs. This could be the break he had been waiting for. The opportunity came with risks. The shipment was unusual, requiring absolute secrecy. Thomas would need to work additional hours, potentially compromising his other jobs. But the potential reward was too significant to ignore. As he considered the offer, Thomas's thoughts drifted to his mother. Her medical treatments were expensive, and their savings had been depleted years ago. Every additional dollar meant a chance for her better care, a possibility of hope. The dock around him continued its rhythmic dance, workers moving, boats creaking, seagulls crying overhead. Thomas understood this world intimately. It was a place of hard work, of survival, of making impossible choices. His decision would not just affect him, but his entire family. One choice could change everything, or risk everything they had struggled to maintain. The old boat owner waited, watching Thomas with knowing eyes. This was more than a job offer. This was a test of character, a moment that could define Thomas's future. As the sea wind whipped around him, Thomas took a deep breath. His calloused hands, which had carried the weight of his family's survival for so long, would now potentially carry their hope. In that moment, standing between the sea and the dock, Thomas Williams was about to make a decision that would alter the course of his life forever. The local library stood like a quiet sanctuary in the heart of Millbrook, its red brick walls holding centuries of stories. Elizabeth Brown worked there, her days filled with organizing books and helping occasional visitors. Most people in town saw her as just another background character, quiet, reserved, and seemingly unremarkable. Elizabeth had always been different. While other women her age dreamed of marriage and social gatherings, She found comfort in books and technical manuals. Her mind was a complex machine of ideas and inventions, hidden behind thick glasses and simple clothing. She wore modest dresses. That seemed to blend into the library's background, her auburn hair always neatly pulled back in a tight bun. On a chilly Wednesday afternoon, Thomas Williams walked into the library. He was covered in grease from the garage, his work boots leaving slight marks on the clean floor. Elizabeth would typically have been irritated, but something about his exhausted yet determined expression caught her attention. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. Thomas explained he was looking for technical manuals about mechanical engineering. Most librarians would have directed him to a section, but Elizabeth's eyes lit up with unexpected excitement. She began pulling out books, her shy demeanor transforming as she discussed complex mechanical concepts. "These diagrams," she said, pointing to an old engineering manual, "they're fascinating. Most people don't understand how intricate mechanical systems can be." Thomas listened, genuinely interested. Unlike most people who dismissed Elizabeth's technical knowledge, he saw something special in her passion. His practical work at the garage and docks had given him a fundamental understanding of machinery, which complemented her theoretical knowledge. Over the next few weeks, Thomas would stop by the library after work. Sometimes he'd need a book, but often he would just talk with Elizabeth. She would share her innovative ideas about sustainable energy solutions, and he would provide practical insights from his hands-on experience. Elizabeth had been working on a unique design for an energy-efficient engine. She had sketches and calculations hidden in her desk, ideas that she had never shared with anyone. The town saw her as a simple librarian, never understanding the brilliant mind behind her plain appearance. Thomas was different. He listened. He asked questions. He made her feel that her ideas were valuable. "Have you ever considered developing this further?" he asked one evening, examining her detailed sketches. Elizabeth's usual reserved demeanor cracked slightly. "Nobody would take me seriously," she whispered. "A small-town librarian with engineering dreams. It sounds ridiculous." But Thomas saw potential where others saw limitations. He understood hard work, having spent his entire life fighting against economic constraints. In Elizabeth, he recognized a similar spirit of resilience. Their friendship was unconventional. She was intellectual and reserved. He was practical and hard-working, yet they found common ground in their shared experience of being underestimated by their small town. Elizabeth began bringing Thomas homemade sandwiches during his long work shifts. He would share stories about the dock and garage, providing her a window into a world beyond books. She in turn would explain complex engineering principles, her eyes sparkling with rare enthusiasm. The town started noticing their unusual friendship. Gossip spread about the grease-covered dock worker and the quiet librarian who seemed to understand each other in a way no one else could. But Thomas and Elizabeth were oblivious to the whispers. They were building something rare, a friendship based on mutual respect, shared dreams, and the understanding that true potential often lies hidden beneath surface appearances. As winter approached, their connection grew stronger. Elizabeth's innovative spirit found encouragement in Thomas's practical support, and Thomas discovered that sometimes the most valuable treasures are not found on docks or in garages, but in the quiet conversations that challenge and inspire. Little did they know that their unexpected friendship was about to transform not just their lives, but the entire future of their small town. The end. The old garage behind Thomas's cottage became an unexpected workshop of innovation. Late into the night, Thomas and Elizabeth would huddle over her engineering designs, their breaths creating small clouds in the cold air. Scattered around them were tools, sketches, and half-completed prototypes that represented their shared dream. Elizabeth's design was revolutionary, a compact energy system that could potentially transform how small communities generated power. Most local engineers had dismissed her ideas, but Thomas saw something different. His practical skills complemented her theoretical knowledge, helping transform complex concepts into tangible possibilities. Winter brought challenges. Thomas worked, Longer hours at the dock to support their experimental work. Every spare penny went into materials for Elizabeth's prototype. His mother, Margaret, watched their dedication with quiet pride, understanding the power of passion and persistence. 1. Particularly cold evening. As snow covered the small town of Millbrook, a breakthrough happened. Elizabeth's prototype began to show promising results. The small engine she had designed started generating more efficient energy than any local system they had seen before. "Look," she exclaimed, her usually reserved face showing genuine excitement. "The energy conversion rate is much higher than traditional systems." Thomas carefully examined the readings, his rough hands moving gently across the technical diagrams. He understood machinery differently from Elizabeth. Where she saw mathematical possibilities, he saw practical applications. Word began to spread quietly through Millbrook. James Peterson, owner of the local technology firm, heard rumors about the unusual pair's work. Known for being a tough businessman with a keen eye for innovation, he became intrigued by the whispers about Elizabeth's design. The town had always underestimated Elizabeth. She was the quiet librarian, always surrounded by books, rarely speaking to anyone. People saw her as strange, always reading, always thinking, never quite fitting into the traditional social circles of their small community. Thomas understood her differently. He saw her brilliance, her determination, her incredible mind that worked like a perfectly designed machine. Where others saw a plain, unremarkable woman, he recognized a potential that could change everything. Peterson's visit was unexpected. One cold morning, he arrived at the garage dressed in an expensive coat that seemed out of place among the grease and tools. He examined Elizabeth's prototype with a professional's critical eye. "Interesting," he murmured, moving components, testing connections, studying every detail. Elizabeth stood nervously, her hands slightly trembling. Thomas stood beside her, a quiet support, his presence giving her confidence. They had worked too hard to be dismissed again. To everyone's surprise, Peterson was impressed. Not just politely interested, but genuinely excited about the potential of Elizabeth's design. Her energy system could solve significant challenges for small rural communities struggling with expensive, inefficient power generation. "I want to discuss a contract," Peterson said finally, his tone serious and professional. The words felt surreal. Elizabeth, who had spent years hiding her designs in library books, was suddenly facing a genuine opportunity. Thomas squeezed her hand gently, a silent celebration of their shared journey. Their breakthrough wasn't just about a technical design, it was about proving that potential exists in unexpected places. A quiet librarian and a hard-working dock worker had created something extraordinary through determination, mutual respect, and unwavering belief in each other. News traveled quickly in Millbrook. The town that had always overlooked Elizabeth now looked at her with newfound respect. Thomas, too, was seen differently, no longer just the struggling worker, but the man who had helped unlock a remarkable innovation. Margaret, watching from her small room, felt a surge of pride. Her son, who had carried their family's burdens for so long, was now part of something remarkable. Her quiet prayers seemed to have found their answer. As evening fell, Thomas and Elizabeth sat in the garage, surrounded by their prototype and dreams. They had transformed their individual struggles into a shared victory. Their story was just beginning. The end the technology firm's conference room felt intimidating. Long glass tables reflected the morning sunlight, and expensive chairs surrounded Elizabeth, making her feel small and uncertain. Thomas sat beside her, his strong presence providing silent support. James Peterson explained the contract details. Elizabeth's energy system would receive significant funding, with potential implementation across rural communities. The numbers seemed unreal, more money than Elizabeth had ever imagined in her entire life. "Your design could change how small towns generate power," Peterson explained, spreading technical documents across the table. "We've never seen an approach quite like this." Elizabeth's hands trembled slightly. Years of being overlooked had prepared her for rejection, not success. Thomas noticed her nervousness and quietly placed his hand near hers, a gesture of reassurance. The contract would provide funding for further research, development, and initial implementation. Elizabeth would lead the technical team, a position she had never dreamed possible. Her shy librarian persona would need to transform into a confident lead engineer. Thomas understood the challenge. He had spent years adapting, from dock worker to garage mechanic, always learning, always pushing forward. He saw the same potential in Elizabeth. Her brilliant mind just needed confidence. During the following weeks, their life changed dramatically. The small cottage they shared became a hub of innovation. Late nights were filled with technical discussions, prototype improvements, and shared dreams. Margaret, Thomas's mother, watched their journey with quiet pride. The local community began to take notice. Millbrook, a town that had once dismissed Elizabeth as just a quiet librarian, now saw her as a potential local hero. People who had never spoken to her before now approached with respect and curiosity. Thomas helped Elizabeth navigate this new world. His practical skills complemented her technical brilliance. Where she understood complex mathematical concepts, he understood how things worked in the real world. Together, they formed an unbeatable team. Their relationship evolved beyond friendship. The shared struggle, the mutual respect, the countless hours of working together created a deep connection. Love grew quietly, like a plant, nurtured by understanding and shared dreams. The technology firm provided resources beyond financial support. Elizabeth received training, attended conferences, and connected with other innovative engineers. Thomas supported her journey, managing their personal affairs and providing emotional support. Their first public presentation was nerve-wracking. Elizabeth, dressed in a professional suit that felt foreign to her, explained her energy system's potential. Thomas watched from the back of the room, his pride evident in every moment. The presentation was a success. Investors, government representatives, and technical experts were impressed by Elizabeth's innovative approach. Her design promised to solve energy challenges for small communities, offering affordable and sustainable solutions. Margaret witnessed their transformation with joy. The son who had carried family burdens and the quiet woman who had hidden her brilliance were now rising together. Their individual struggles had become a shared triumph. Local newspapers began writing about their story. Millbrook's unlikely innovators became a headline, sharing their journey from struggling workers to potential industry changers. Thomas and Elizabeth became symbols of hope for those who felt overlooked. The financial security was welcome, but it wasn't their primary motivation. They wanted to create real change, to help communities like their own overcome economic challenges. Their work was about more than personal success. It was about collective progress. Thomas continued working part-time at the dock, maintaining his connection to the community. Elizabeth balanced her new professional role with her love for the local library. They remained grounded, understanding that success was about more than money. Their relationship continued to grow. They were partners in every sense, professionally, emotionally, and in their shared vision for creating positive change. The quiet librarian and the hard-working dock worker had transformed their individual struggles into a powerful partnership. Summer approached. Their prototype moved from theoretical design to potential real-world implementation. Communities expressed interest in their sustainable energy solution. What had started as a quiet conversation in a library had become a potential revolution. Thomas and Elizabeth's journey proved a simple truth. Potential exists everywhere, often in the most unexpected places. Their story was a testament to hard work, mutual respect, and the power of believing in each other. The end. The small church in Millbrook seemed too quiet for the celebration happening inside. Thomas and Elizabeth stood together, their hands intertwined, surrounded by friends and family who had witnessed their remarkable journey. Their wedding was more than a personal celebration. It was a testament to their shared dream and unwavering partnership. Margaret, Thomas's mother, sat in the front row, her eyes filled with tears of joy. She had watched her son transform from a struggling worker to a man who had found purpose and love. Elizabeth's quiet smile reflected years of hidden potential finally being recognized. Their wedding was simple yet meaningful. No lavish decorations, no expensive traditions, just genuine love and hope. The local community, which had once overlooked them, now celebrated their union with genuine excitement. The technology firm's success had brought unexpected opportunities. Elizabeth's energy system was being implemented in multiple rural communities, creating jobs and reducing energy costs. Their innovative approach had caught national attention, transforming their small-town dream into a nationwide solution. But money was never their primary goal. They established the Williams Brown Foundation, dedicated to supporting local inventors and entrepreneurs who felt marginalized. Their foundation provided grants, mentorship, and resources to people with innovative ideas but limited opportunities. Everyone deserves a chance, Thomas would say during foundation meetings. Potential doesn't care about your background or appearance. Their first year of marriage was filled with extraordinary experiences. Conference invitations, technical workshops, and collaborative projects became their new normal. Elizabeth, once a shy librarian, now confidently presented their work to national audiences. Thomas continued to balance their success with humility. He still worked occasional shifts at the dock, maintaining connections with the community that had supported them. His practical skills complemented Elizabeth's technical brilliance, creating a perfect partnership. The foundation became their greatest achievement. They discovered and supported young inventors from small towns, providing them opportunities they themselves had been denied. Each grant, each mentorship represented a chance for someone to transform their dreams into reality. Local schools began inviting them to speak, sharing their story of perseverance and innovation. Students saw living proof that success wasn't about perfect beginnings, but about determination and belief in oneself. Their cottage, once a symbol of struggle, became a hub of innovation. Young inventors would visit, sharing ideas, receiving guidance. Thomas and Elizabeth created a welcoming environment where creativity was celebrated. Margaret's health improved with their newfound resources. They ensured she received the best medical care, transforming her later years into a period of comfort and joy. Her unwavering support had been crucial to their journey. The technology firm continued expanding their energy solutions. What started as Elizabeth's small prototype now powered entire communities, offering sustainable and affordable energy options. Their work was making a real difference. Their love story became an inspiration. They proved that true partnership transcends physical appearance, social expectations, and initial limitations. Their connection was built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and unwavering support. As years passed, they remained committed to their original vision. The Williams Brown Foundation continued supporting innovative ideas. They never forgot their roots, always remembering the struggles that shaped their journey. Thomas would often tell young inventors, success isn't about where you start, it's about believing in yourself and supporting each other. Elizabeth would smile, knowing their story perfectly embodied those words. Their marvelous fortune wasn't just financial. It was the ability to create meaningful change, to support others, to transform individual potential into collective progress. They had turned their personal struggle into a beacon of hope for others. The quiet town of Millbrook had become a symbol of possibility. Thomas and Elizabeth's journey showed that extraordinary things could emerge from ordinary places when people believed in each other. As evening settled over their cottage, they would sit together, reviewing foundation applications, planning future projects. Their hands would touch, a silent celebration of their shared journey. From struggling workers to inspiring change-makers, their story reminded everyone that true wealth isn't measured in money, but in the lives you touch, the dreams you support, and the love you share. The end.